Hey everyone, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2024 GMC Canyon, we're going to be showing you how to install the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver. Before we do that though, let's just take a minute and check this one out. So for those of you that have a Canyon and the truck didn't come equipped with that factory tow package, this is going to be a great solution to allow you to get a hitch back here and either pull your trailers around, use your accessories, or do a little bit of both. And since the hitch is going to be completely hidden for the most part, it's going to look pretty good too. The hitch is going to have a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, which is a good thing. That's an extremely common size, so a lot of accessories will work with it. It is going to use that standard 5/8 size pin and clip. Keep in mind though, one doesn't come included with the hitch. If you need one, not a huge deal. Grab it here at eTrailer. A lot of times too, if you end up buying a new accessory, they'll come with one, so something to look out for there. And as far as these safety chain openings go, it's a plate style, really thick steel, and just about any size hook that your trailer might have on it should work out just fine. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to offer some pretty high numbers. Maximum gross tongue weight rating is going to be 800 pounds, which is the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. And that's more than enough for just about any accessory. Give an example there. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 8,000 pounds, or the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. That is the weight of your trailer plus anything you might have in or on it. This can be used with the weight distribution system, which is a separate component. What happens when you use that, it's going to keep your Canyon and trailer level whenever you're towing it down the road. It's pretty popular on campers and enclosed trailers, things of that nature. So if that's what you're doing, might be worth looking into. If you do use the weight distribution though, the capacities do go up a little bit. Maximum gross tongue weight rating goes up to 1,000 pounds, and the maximum trailer weight rating goes up to 10,000 pounds. Now with all that in mind, I do always like to recommend, it's always a good idea to grab your truck's owner's manual. That way you can check in there and make sure your GMC can handle that amount of weight safely. Chances are pretty good. You know, if you're looking at this hitch, you're probably going to be towing, and if you're pulling a trailer, you want the lights to work on it. To get that done, you can pick up this plug here, and it's really convenient actually. The wiring connector is already here behind our bumper. We just have a dummy plug, just a plastic piece here. So you could pop that out, take this, put it in place, plug it right in, and have all the lights working on your trailer. We'll grab a couple measurements now, and these will help us figure out what type of accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 20 inches. So if you're needing a ball mount, you could probably get one with the drop in the shank. At 2 to 4 inch range probably work well for most scenarios. Keep in mind too, we have a AT4 submodel. So this might sit up a little bit higher than some of the other ones. So take that into account. If we go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's only going to be about 3.5 inches, which is really good. So you shouldn't run into too many issues here, but if need be, you can use that to help figure out exactly if any folding accessories you might have can be stored upright without hitting the back of your bumper. Comes down to it, a hitch on the back of the Canyon is a great addition. You know, it'll let you get some work done or have some fun on the weekend, whatever you're trying to accomplish there. As far as the installation goes, it's not too terribly complicated, but it is definitely involved. You do have to remove the back bumper. Some of the bolts that are originally holding it on are pretty tight, so keep that in mind. But you know, you spend an afternoon knocking this out, it can definitely be done at home. If this is something you don't have time to mess with or a place to work on it, so on and so forth, you can always use our dealer locator network, and that can get you going in the right direction as far as finding a shop that can do it for you. But if you're going to do it yourself, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working underneath the back of our Canyon. And first thing that you want to do is just temporarily lower and remove the spare tire to get that out of the way. And then we can focus on a support bracket that we can get removed. Here's the bracket that we can remove. So you have one 15mm head bolt. Pull that out, and then they say you can just loosen this one and swivel this out of the way. I'm just going to completely remove it, you know, that way we don't have to deal with it fighting us. So pull this one out too. We're gonna have this little guide. It's a tube for your spare tire tool to go into and work that mechanism. You need to remove the tube part. So there's two little tabs that you can kind of pull out on. And while you're doing that, just slide that tube out. Push it all the way back here until it comes out from our bumper. Disconnect any electrical connectors that are going to our bumper, because the bumper's gonna have to come off. On our driver's side here, looks like we have a couple of them, and they're also pushed in. So I'm just taking a trim tool to pop those free. And as far as getting them disconnected, this one, you'll have a red tab. You can push down on it, and then down on the center of that tab. Pull that apart. And with this one here, kind of tricky to see, but because it's all undercoated, but there's another tab. You can pull back on. There's so much undercoating on this, it's kind of getting stuck in there, it feels like. We need to free that one. So it actually turned out there's a little, on this part where the red tab is, there's a little black tab there. You push down on it, that'll release it. We'll have this one here, which will go to our trailer connector. We'll release this push pin, and to disconnect it, you'll have this gray portion. You can pull it back and push down on the center of that tab. Get that out of our way, and we'll just keep working our way around here. It looks like with these, very similar to that other one we did on the frame rail. We can start to get the hardware removed now that's holding our bumper in place to the truck. And on the outside of the frame rail, so just right up here in this area, there's going to be a couple of 21 millimeter head bolts that we can pull out. Here's what those bolts look like. I put some yellow paint on the head of them just to make it easier to identify. And they're really tight, so you'll probably have to use a breaker bar or something along those lines to at least get them broke free until you can, eventually get them pulled completely out. So being that it's so tight in here, wanted to give you a visual, but I'll go ahead and get those removed. I do want to mention, from this point on, whatever we do to one side of our truck, we'll also do to the other side, because it'll be set up the same way. Once you get the big bolts from the side removed, you can move to this attachment point here. So there's one on each side of our truck. It's a 15 millimeter head nut, and these should be the last thing actually holding our bumper beam on. So what I'm gonna do is almost completely remove it. I'll probably leave a couple of threads on each side. That way the bumper just won't fall off on us, and we can lower the truck down, maybe grab someone to give us a hand, and get the bumper beam removed. We should be in good shape now, so I'll get the nuts off that we left on hand tight. And with the help from Brad here, we should be able to just slide our bumper back. Make sure we got all the electrical and stuff disconnected, which we did. And with this free, we can set it off to the side for now. We're gonna have this cross beam now that we're gonna have to remove. And so on each side where it attaches to the frame, we're gonna have a couple of 21 millimeter head bolts. So those two there. And what I like to do with this one is completely remove it and then put it back in a few turns, just like we did with the nuts on the bumper beam. Then pull the other one completely out. That way it still has some support and just don't fall down on us. So again, these are really tight, so make sure to break them loose first with the breaker bar. If you got a big impact like this, that'll work as well. Get this completely removed now, so just support it. Remove those bolts that we left in hand tight, and we'll get this removed from our truck. Threaded holes here on the bottom of our frame rails, those are going to be the attachment points that we're going to use to secure the hitch. The ones on the side, we're not going to be using. Here on the bottom, not a bad idea to take a brush and just run it through to clean out any potential debris or anything that might be on the threads. We'll take our hitch, line up the holes in it with the holes in the bottom of our frame, then we'll take those factory bolts that we removed and get them started hand tight. Now that we got our hardware in place and hand tight, one thing I did was just square up the hitch, you know, make sure the distance is the same on each side. Probably don't have to, but definitely not going to hurt anything. We'll come back and snug down these bolts. Need to make sure and come back with a torque wrench now and tighten down all that hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you look at the back side of the hitch, we're going to have this tab here with the square hole in it. You can take the carriage bolt that they give you, drop it down in there like that. Then we can take this bracket that we removed, get it lined up. I'm just going to put the factory one back in up here and keep it somewhat in place. And on the bottom of this, you can take the flange nut and get that started and get it positioned how you want it here. We'll come back and tighten this hardware down. Our 15 for our stock bolt. And we'll use an 11/16 for this nut here. We can take our bumper, we'll slide that back into position. And once we get it in place, we can use all that hardware that we removed to get it resecured. I was able to get our bumper all put back up in place and got everything tightened down and resecured. Plugged all of our electrical connectors back in. And at this point, you can reinstall the spare tire. I'm gonna hold off on that though, because I'm gonna be doing a trailer connector next. So don't make sense to put it back up when I'll need the extra space to work. So that's what I'd advise doing too if you're setting up your trailer wiring. But with that said, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2024 GMC Canyon.